And it's Friday night, so expect loud cars and screaming and yelling, and because that's the way Charleston is. All right, and none of you are from here, correct? Anybody from here?
They're
Oh, you guys live here?
We've been here for 2 years.
He's a Navy noob.
So I can still lie to you guys all night, and none of you will know any different. All right, perfect. So, thermal imaging is the first thing we're going to be using. So you guys should be able to see me in this camera. I'm the red, orange, and yellow guy. So basically that means I'm the warmest thing inside the picture. If you were a bridal party, I'd be the hottest thing inside the picture. But with that, we're looking for blue and black spots to either change shape or move on their own. Those are the cold areas in the frame. Couple of things about this camera. First off, you're going to get the full video back. It'll usually be anywhere between an hour and 15 minutes to an hour and 30 minutes because we are going to do some starts and stops. The reason why is because the hardware is great, the software sucks. If we record for too long, then it loses everything. So I will give the user the cues for the starts and stops. There's also a blue dot that's bouncing around the frame, so when you guys get that tomorrow morning, that blue dot is telling us the coldest area in the frame at that particular moment. The user will have a cheat sheet bar over here on the right-hand side. It tells him the highest temperature and the lowest temperature, so that way he can kind of see like what the different gauges is. So with that, we are going to record most of the night. Again, we're going to be together for about 2 hours approximate, so it's anywhere between usually an hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours and 15 minutes. That's why on your tickets it said 90 to 120 minutes. But again, Drew, I think I'm going to go with you on this one.
Whatever you'd like, sir.
You're going to hold that horizontal all night long.
Okay.
When it is recording right now, and I do that purposely, so everybody tomorrow morning when they start their video, they actually have the instructions on how to watch it. And that way, I will give you the stop cues. That's the red square on there. When I ask you to restart it, you're going to start it in the same horizontal position with the camera to your left. That's the wire side.
Okay.
I splice all the video together, so you only have one video to watch. You'll just see some little breaks from where we went from one area to the next. Fair?
Fair.
Let's see. Let's get out the other camera before we dive into the other craziness that we have going on in the bag. So, this particular guy works a lot differently than the thermal imaging camera. So you should not be able to see me in this camera. It should be pretty dark in there. So I know it's a small screen for everybody to try to stare at. Let's turn on some lights. So, yep. So we are working with full spectrum lighting on this camera. I should be in a pinkish or purplish hue. So with this camera, this is light you cannot see with your own eyes. So essentially, we're hoping to be able to capture something we wouldn't capture with our own eyes. The cool thing about this is we're also going to be using lasers with this particular camera because the lasers show up really well, and I'll explain those in just a moment. But this one is not recording yet, only because the files are huge. So, Brendan, you seem like you're pretty excited about this one. So, this one's actually going to go to you. I usually wait for those eyes biggest plates where, like, all right, he's getting this one. But again, I'll show you more about this device as we move along through the night. Oh, we don't make Zach jokes.
Oh, yes, we do.
That was a total Zach joke, just so you know. I make fun of him all the time.
He's okay, the most sober person in the world.
This is the Eliza from Men in Black. None of you are going to remember anything when we're done. So, lasers. Again, we're going to be using these lasers with the IR camera. So again, this is kind of like a two-person tandem job. Again, the whole point why we use lasers is it helps us to detect motion. You can't see the lasers except for the green dots on the ground until something actually passes through it. So the camera can see these really, really well. So I'm actually looking for motion when I'm reviewing that camera and spot checking it to see if there's any motion going through the camera on these laser dots. We're also going to use red square lasers. The reason for the red square lasers is that if we capture something here, I could take the still from the camera, put it in 3D software, and then give you guys a full 3D view of what we caught along with measurements. So I've had this for almost a year and haven't had anything that the 3D software will take yet. So hopefully tonight is our night on this guy. I lost your name. Megan. I thought so. I might have screwed up. So these are both going to go to you, so that way you can work with hubby. This one works with there's a dot right here. Lasers always stay pointed towards the ground. Okay. Because lasers get in a lot of trouble. Right. This one works on a toggle switch. So once you have it turned on, it stays on. So be careful. You have to toggle it back off again.
Okay, that's easy enough.
Yeah. No pressure. You're not sending Nick to jail tonight. Spirit boxes. We're going to be using 4 different spirit boxes tonight. So they're all going to work a little bit differently aside from 2 of them. So spirit boxes are a way for us to communicate with the dead. On TV and your YouTube videos, this is normally the white noise, and then your host will tell you what he thinks he heard in the middle of that white noise. Mine are slowed down on purpose. None of you are used to listening to white noise for long periods of time. And not to mention, between that and history, me repeating history all night long, somebody's going to fall asleep for sure. So I slowed them down so that way the radio chatter comes through. Song lyrics, DJs, commercials, that's what I want you to listen for. If you can make out any of those type of voices coming through, it's a possible relation, usually a 50-50 shot. I can tie it to the location of where we are, a person in history I'm talking about, or even something going on with one of us. Now, this one that I'm going to hand out is going to record the entire session for you. You're going to get the full recording back tomorrow morning. So, aside from whatever the person hears in real time, I'm going to go through it and spot check it. And I'm going to find a few more markers so that way you learn how to listen to this for the rest of the group that didn't get to listen to it in real time. If it is relevant to one of those 3 things, the location, a person, or something going on with one of us, I will definitely give you the link to verify that information. That's, again, I'm not hiding anything. I'm not here to make anything up and be Zach Bagans. So, again, this is all about real history. Casey, you look super stoked when I said spirit boxes. Now, the 2 people that are going to be using this style of spirit box will have an earbud in. We won't hear what they're hearing. I'm going to have to rely on you in real time to see if anything is relatable. So, earwax is gross, which means I don't want this set of earbuds back. So, London will help you get this hooked up.
I feel like I'm standing in front of I'm super good at this. Sure.
Here on the hip.
The way, sorry.
Okay, what do we got here? Carmela, you think you can handle this guy?
Sure. Okay.
Yours will not record.
It's a little late for that.
So I'm going to rely on your real-time findings only. I don't like to throw too much data at you guys because that's already a lot to go through. Oh, I already have it in my pocket. So London will come over and show you how to hook that up and where the volume button is.
a special one.
He's not giving me anything else. He's not giving me anything. It's okay, though. I've got my own price now.
Oh, you're getting something. No worries.
Yeah, I give her something good.
It's easier.
Something super important and expensive.
Something that I can't break
all expensive.
if I drop it.
Does she need to hit anything?
What's that?
Does she need to hit anything?
So your volume, did she not show you where the volume is?
No.
You
Oh.
told me one person, then another. I'm sorry.
Oh, the volume is right here. It's a wheel. So you control the volume.
Okay, I hear it now. Got it. We're doing it. It's going down.
Okay, the next spirit box is very similar to the one that you were already using. However, this one is going to be a lot different only because I trust it. No offense against the app you were using.
Oh no, it's just for funsies.
Now, this app is going to give us words from time to time in the center of the screen. Again, right now it says the word wake. My last tour, it's going to save all those words to a list with the timestamp. So my last tour had 81 terms. I'm going to clear them out. Here's what I'm going to tell you about this app. It's not that I don't trust yours. I also don't trust this one. 80% of what comes out of this thing doesn't mean anything. It's a game. It's a hoax. It's the same principle of what you were just doing.
Yeah, it's like tarot cards.
Right.
20% is real.
Exactly.
80% is.
So you will get the full list back only because sometimes it might be relatable to you and I don't know it because I don't know you all personally. So I do give the full list back to you. If it is relevant based on, again, location, person, one of us, I will give you the notes along with a link to be able to verify that. So, Janie, this one's going to be all you. All you got to really do is hang on to the words. I'll come to you when I want to see the word list. And the word list, you get to it just by hitting that little white box. I don't need to see every word that pops up.
It's right there. The car's literally. I can look it. It's just a water bottle.
Wait, I grab my water bottle.
Yeah.
Are we
There's been
walk
a
away?
whole of traffic.
It's literally right there.
So, this spirit box is open air, which means it doesn't have an earbud to it. I normally give this to 2 people, especially when I have a full group of 10. That way the 2 people that are using it can verify each other. So again, this one is going to sweep through the FM radio stations as well. London's going to show you where the volume button on this so that the 2 of you can work together. And that way Casey's the the Lone Ranger over there. So go ahead and show them how to get that. I didn't turn it on. There you go. You're good. All right, we got 2 more devices to go through. EMF meters. You guys all see these on television, right? So this is all the blinky lights. Cell phones, electrical wires, any kind of buildings also make this thing go off. It's another reason why they use them on TV is because they're very, very sensitive. So this one I kind of use to debunk what's going on to see if it's anything man-made first. So again, any kind of lights that come out of this ray, I want to know what's going on. I'll be keeping an eye on it anyway as we kind of go throughout the night. But I do like to, you know, if you see something before I do, let me know what's going on. You don't have to just hang it around and wait for the lights to go off. That's it. It doesn't have to hold it. Nope. Just hold it and walk around. We're going to talk about that. Yep. All right. Now, you're my multitasker. Oh.
I'm a mom of 7.
Just maybe I picked up on that.
You did.
So, this is what we call a Mel meter. So whenever I'm going through history and all of that kind of thing, we try to keep that spirit box down. It's the only one that makes noise. So this is going to measure the same type of EMF that Ray's device has. So the big number on yours is going to be anything above 2.5. I want to know what's going on. That's the top numbers. The bottom numbers is if Drew finds something on his camera, you and I can debunk it pretty quickly because it's ambient temperature. It tells us how warm or cold something is with this yellow probe at the top. The last thing that it has a motion sensor built into it. So if anything actually gets close to this antenna, I'm not touching it, it will go off. The closer it gets, obviously the higher pitch it's going to go. London and I will show you more about that part of the device as we move along through the night. So with that, you're going to focus on the 2 red numbers for now. See why I gave her the multitasker? So look at her looking at it.
Can't break this.
You'll be fine.
I was laughing.
At least you're not holding the camera.
Okay, so a couple of things as we go through the night. Brennan, oh, you got swapped on me.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, you're good. Your camera will need a battery change about halfway through the night. It's nothing paranormal. It is all about the battery life that comes with it.
Okay.
Just so you know, I carry 5 extras just in case. So, camera people, it's a busy night. People do not like their cars being filmed, and they do not like to be filmed themselves. Drew, good Lord, I can't wait to get off this corner. So, your camera's a lot easier to kind of, I'm just casually holding a cell phone. If we're in a group, in an area where there's a lot of people and they're a little uncomfortable, I might say, let's point the camera down. You guys will literally just drop it and point it straight at the ground. So just kind of be casual with it. We might hit some spaces tonight, guys, where there's, you know, some parked cars. And again, it's just a matter of like what used to be there, and that's why we're investigating those spaces. But again, the filming thing is what gets people a little jumpy. So you'll see me with like a bad dad with those cameras. So let's talk about why we started here. You guys got me talking a lot, so let me get a drink first. Not to mention, I feel like I'm shouting over all these Ubers. They keep coming by. Big John's, place behind me. This is where I asked you all to meet me. Used to be Big John's back in the day, based off of a football player. His name was Big John Kennedy. Now, Big John played for the 1947 New York Giants. Throughout the night, you guys are going to hear me slow down on keywords for the spirit boxes. So, the spirit boxes, these are the types of keywords you're going to be listening for. So far, 1947, New York, and Giants. But Big John, he used to sit in the back of the bar, and he would tell the bartender if the cadets coming over from the Citadel, if they were old enough to drink or not. One night, 2 guys come in, they're not old enough to drink, and Big John has the bartender throw them out. They leave pretty angry. They come back the next night and try to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. John sees what's going on, gets up from the bar, starts beating the hell out of these guys, just pounding them right into the floor. A couple of gunshots go off. John gets hit in the neck. The bullet lands in the wall. John gets up after being shot, goes back to the bar, tells the bartender to get him another beer, get the 2 guys on the floor in ambulance. Now, the irony of the story is that nobody died. So what's haunting the place is the bullet hole. It's allegedly still here. They did some renovations into the Big Johns that we now know, so I don't know if that bullet hole is still there. Even if it isn't, Big John's blood is in this building. People that sit in the front of this bar, and a lot of times you have to remember, all of my guests get the same text you guys got this morning or this afternoon to meet me at Big John's. They go to dinner here. They can't finish their meal. There's a feeling a little nauseous, if they had a headache, or they got dizzy and couldn't finish whatever plate that they ordered. That's common. That's because of the bullet hole was in the front of the building. It's repeated warning. You're going to be dealing with paranormal activity tonight, fingers crossed. Again, the ghosts aren't on the payroll. I have no idea what's going to happen tonight. But if anybody feels any of those symptoms, I need to know immediately so we can move the whole group and get that person to safety. Is that fair? I'm not going to say that people haven't passed out from this tour or that I've ever had to call EMTs, which I've done both. So, again, this can be kind of a scary thing when it comes to your own health. It just depends. So, let's not talk about our own health, right, Danny? You look a little worried, like what the hell did I sign up for? Big earthquake here in 1886. If you didn't know that from any other historical tour, you haven't taken enough tours in Charleston yet, because we all talk about that earthquake. This is allegedly where the first death occurred from that earthquake. The white mantle you see in the middle of the building also wraps around the front of the building, on the east bay side. So a piece of it broke off, struck somebody in the back of the head, and killed them. And apparently you could see his ghost in the middle of East Bay Street in the middle of the night. Now notice I said apparently and allegedly a lot with that story because I don't have any proof. It's just a great segue so Janie's not worried about getting sick on the tour. So that... So, you guys ready to go ghost hunting?
Yes.
Alright, we're gonna go this way. Let's follow London. Looks like she knows where she's going. Maybe she's been on this tour before. Across.
Here,
What?
sermon.
You okay?
Just rolled over.
You have plenty of curves to stand and try to be tall. Alright, so a couple of places we're going to go to tonight I will consider quiet areas. This is one of those quiet areas based on the horses inside the barn. They've been working hard all day, giving tours. They can't hear us, which is part of the reason why we use earbuds on your spirit boxes now. So for the one spirit box we have that's open air, you want to keep it audible to the two of you only. And where are my lasers at now? So Brennan, you're going to be the only one with lasers. Lasers cannot go on vehicles. It will set off car alarms, and it cannot go on that building. You will spook the horses. So this is what I call the big red barn lot. Okay, so obviously we keep the horses here to, give carriage rides. The only history here is really simple. It's a one-liner on purpose, so that way we can work together one-on-one with your devices, and then we can go deep dive into, obviously, much long ago history of Charleston. So the history here is really simple. This is where, do you have a reading already?
Yeah, 2.5.
Awesome. That's great news. That device has not given us much in this location in about a week.
2.7.
Good. Okay, so hang on to those. I'm going to write them all down. So the history here is this is the same big red barn that gave us, that held horses that delivered milk and eggs to the residents of Charleston. Let's talk about spirit boxes. There's 4 in play tonight. This is not television. This is not commercial free, whatever. Like, this is not, is somebody here, right? Like everybody wants to ask, right? Because that's what everybody does. If somebody answers no, that means somebody's here. They answered you, right? So we're going to stay away from yes and no questions all night long. Some areas I'm going to give you probing questions that you can use, and they're great examples of non-yes and no questions. In a space like this, I want, especially those that have spirit boxes that they have to listen to, I want you to get used to listening to them. So the questions here you would ask, you would know the answers to, like, if somebody's here, tell me what color the big red barn is. Obviously, we're looking on Janie's device and listening for the color red. However, the color red might not be on the vocabulary of the song lyrics or DJs or even the word list at that given time. Fire truck, heart, blood. These are all things that are specifically red. Those would be acceptable answers to me. What color is the big red barn? Blood. However, most of the night I'm going to require 2 pieces of evidence or happenings to kind of verify what's going on. For example, Janie has the word art on her word list, and Casey hears the number 40. Art Faircloth was number 40 on Big John's team. Do you see where I needed 2 clues to kind of put it together? So throughout the night, I might say that's a little vague. Let me wait for another clue to verify that. You're going to hear that a lot out of me. Again, I'm not here to make stuff up like Mr. Baggins, whatever the hell his name is. But anyways, he gives guys like me a bad name.
So why does the dead have such a difficult time with vocabulary?
What do you mean?
Why do the dead talk in riddles? Why do they say, instead of just saying red, why do they
So you have to remember the method that we're using tonight. We're using the song lyrics and DJs to convey the message for us. So if a DJ doesn't say, hey, you know, the car was red, you know, they might say a fire truck went by, and they only heard the word fire truck. Like, I'd be okay with that. So again, I'm still going to require 2 things most of the night. Most of the stories tonight are going to have multiple people with the same name. We're talking 17 and 1800s. Lots of Charleses, lots of Georges, Elizas, that kind of name. We need to know who the hell we're talking to. 2.9. Perfect. Good stuff. So, spirit boxes, I do want you to spread out a little bit. I want you to get used to listening to those boxes. We're only going to be here for about 5 minutes. I'm going to show the video cameras, a few more tactics, and then we're going to pretty much move on to our next phase so we can get much further into history other than football players and ponies. So the rule of thumb when we're in spaces like this is stay away from vehicles altogether, no in-betweens, no leaning on vehicles, no lasers on vehicles, that kind of thing, and of course no filming of vehicles. I'm trying to be very respectful of the people that worked out here. I'm one of them, so. But my car's not in one of these lots. So, camera folks, stick with me for just a moment. Brennan, that includes you, so you can learn some tactics with your lasers. London, I do want you to work with Ray and Janie and show them a little bit more about what EMF he's using, and then jump over to Miss Carrie so you can teach her about the REM pod. You got it?
Yeah.
All right, so cameras, stick with me.
Hi.
Let me show you a few more things. So you're going to do 2 things. You're going to be trying to keep a person in view because we're the warmest thing out here. Right, that gives you an array of color. The other thing you're going to try to do is keep the sky out, if possible. A lot of times that might be impossible. The reason why is because that blue dot you see bouncing around your screen, it's looking for a surface to measure, and the coldest surface. The sky has no surface, so it's going to default to the sky. So again, it's always going to be person in, sky out, if you can. Throughout the night, of course, I'm always going to be just checking in with you. This isn't a device that captures something every single night. So maybe 3 to 5 times a year, I get something where I'm like, oh, snap, look at this. You know what I mean? So if I'm not recording, we're not going to get it.
Got it.
The slower movements from you, the better. It's also recording audio, so you need to know that as well. So
I already knew that.
well, a lot of times I'll give this to my jokester of the night, so that way we get his commentary.
Yeah.
Even though I don't listen to it, I put the earbuds off after I'm done with the spirit boxes, so I don't want to hear the comments he made. I'm looking for the motions instead of me focusing on, all right, this guy thought I was a hoax. But anyway, have fun with it. Again, work with the wife and get some questions out of her so she knows what she's doing.
Got it.
All right, so let's get your cameras going.
What are you hearing?
I'm hearing music.
Like regular straight up music?
Yeah, like music
So your
and
camera, I'm
talking.
not looking for things in that purple light, right? So I'm looking for things that aren't supposed to be able to reflect light.
Just
I'm
talk
literally
radio.
looking for things out of the dark.
No, it's music too.
I'm
Don't
looking-
talk about.
You have 2 different lights working for you right now. So go ahead and look at your screen.
Remember that song? I think they're supposed to give you clues in what you hear.
I got you. So if he says something and that matches up,
And I hear like fire truck, like woo woo fire truckers.
As far as your lasers go, Brennan, you guys should be anywhere between 3 to 5 feet apart. And go ahead and point one of your lasers down.
are you?
Again, you want to be going through.
This is something that was cool.
Are they gonna push me?
And we already know what the green dot looks like.
Oh, I get what you're.
I'll push you later.
Out of the lasers that are coming down.
Are we like these guys disrupted over reflector?
Right. Well, the disruptions in the pattern, you might see something, but most of the time they stay in pretty much intact, especially when you're watching it on film and trying to get that exact freeze frame so that way you can
Looks like
see
a
what's
kite.
actually
You know
there.
what it looks like.
I'm not looking for this pattern. I'm looking for something green to show up here. Right.
Right.
For red squares, it's the same
They
principle.
can.
Okay, I get it.
Now, your red squares, if you're going to use them together, you don't want to cross the streams. And go back to those questions,
So you see how it's up to hand.
with that, you almost want to have them side by side.
Oh.
So I can just this one, now you have a pyramid going here, have one going here. Now you have a much bigger range for something that has 5 feet or something here. So again, it's always going to be like
London. That's such a pretty.
you want to go too far. You want to keep them
Recorded.
Just how to use it.
He said.
Here's the way to fly for girls.
Alright, darling, go for it.
Certain places I'll be like, okay, you're out of the game for at least 12 minutes, so I'll give you the okay when it's all ready.
So you already had
Yeah, probably right back.
so you know how
John Anthony.
Big John.
Big John. John Anthony.
Big John.
Is that Anthony? Big John.
Big John.
Big John.
No, John something. His name is John something.
Yeah, Anthony. Anthony? Antonio?
You know,
The music, everything.
Big John was also a wrestler. He was a wrestler too.
Said
Not
enjoy
19.
life again.
And then the second
So I reversed that for 2 or 3 minutes, stopped the video, and started again. I lost a lot of footage this past couple nights.
I want to make sure it's not recording.
Right. And I'm slicing
If you say, "Are you here right now?"
I don't care how many little videos I have. I'm still going to put it all together. So
And I hear yes.
one video. I'd rather give you guys 30 to 45 minutes of the video rather than 18.
So it's right.
Make sense? Right. Perfect. All right. So
So like, basically this is more of what energy passes through. So like, not that dumb.
you guys read anything on your spirit box yet? All right. Cool. All right. Let's pick a
Basically,
spot.
if you were to,
So much my childhood then.
basically, using this to
So I guess
Going on there. All right. I say we learn. You got some ratings going on too. I got to write all this
just hold
stuff
the
down.
camera and point it
on the side.
towards the barn,
And now we reset it, so it's
and we just kind of do this all day.
Are you guys ready to go learn some much deeper history?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
All right, guys. Kill the lasers. Let's walk. Did she show you anything about that device there?
I think this is his phone. Nice. I'll tell you right now. If this is his phone, I'm going to start checking his phone. Don't you worry about how I do it. Minimize this and go into his photos and
What
videos.
you gonna do when that thing randomly goes off?
It's also recorded. He says because I usually give it to the jokester in the group because I get the great commentary at the end. I said, if you want me to give you commentary, buddy, I'll give you. This is not fair. You get to listen to music the entire time.
No, I don't. It jumps around. It's not like I'm listening to a whole song. It bits and pieces.
Watch out for what?
Watch out for the glass.
Oh yeah, watch the glass.
Watch the glass.
Watches the glass.
That's awesome. All right, I am going to pull this in a little bit tighter just because there's a lot of cars in here.
It's close enough.
Yep. All right, so we're going to turn that off whenever I'm giving history just because it's distracting to me. I am going to take note that there was blue showing up already, which
And
is
you're
awesome.
epileptic. This is not a good idea, sweetie.
Use it every night. But hit the little white button in the back for me.
The second one.
It's the one closer to the edge.
Yeah. Right here. 1.8.
It's on the back.
It's on the back. I think she was asking you to hit it on that. There you go.
I'm sorry.
All right. So, welcome to another beautiful space of Charleston. Another parking lot, I know. But this place used to be something, and it's a pretty big something. You don't have to film right away. You've got to be relaxed.
I'm just holding it.
Okay. I just didn't want your arms to get tired because you're going to get to work here in a few minutes. So, what is this place? It used to be the Charles and Eliza Pinckney mansion site. So their mansion sat in the front facing East Bay Street. Eliza's garden was lined up with Five Church Restaurant, came all the way across, and we are standing where the servant and slave quarters used to be for the home. So, who the heck were these people? Eliza and Charles had a son named Charles. They had a nephew named Charles. If you lost track, that's 3 Charleses. So, we need to know who we're dealing with. The son and the nephew, by the way, were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. So I don't like to talk politics, but if I don't bring it up, it usually comes up somewhere else. And I should stop talking about it just to make sure it's going to pop up somewhere else. But anyway, Spirit Box folks, reminder, you're not going to get questions here like what color is George Washington's white horse, like what we did over there with the big red barn. You will get the answers from your Spirit Boxes. I'm going to withhold some information from you so that way you have a genuine experience. Now, Eliza married Charles at a young age, according to today's standards, not the colonial times that she came from. So kind of keep that in mind when you're asking her how old she was when she got married. The only reason I bring this up is because Charles was over double her age when they got married. I know, sounds gross, but it's not so bad once you actually get the answers. She married him because her father over in England thought he was dying, and he wanted to see all of his children one last time, and she didn't think he was dying. Instead, she got married. This is 1744. There's no such thing as a green card or citizenship. She married him out of love. So this was a true love story. Even after his death, because remember, he's over double her age, she remained a widow. So this is a true love story. Now, she was right. Dad didn't die right away. So instead, he starts sending her gifts.
4.
What was it?
It's 4.
We're going to get much higher than that.
She was banging someone else.
No, she wasn't.
I don't believe you.
Prominent English woman, definitely not hooking up. So, anyway, Dad starts sending her gifts from England to this space. You guys have been in Charleston for at least a few hours. You've seen the word indigo somewhere. This is where it all started. One of the things that he sent her were the seeds of indigo. Indigo is a plant that makes blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue. Some of you might be wearing it tonight. It's kind of dark out here. So, that's how we use it today. However, I bring up the slaves earlier because she didn't know how to keep it cultivated in our obviously not warm temperatures all the time. She had to learn from them how to keep it going. These were basically agriculturists. So they had to teach her how to keep it going. Once she had it right, she moved it to a plantation in Mount Pleasant. She calls her dad and says, hey, rice plantations are going downhill. We can make a killing with this indigo. Now we have an international businesswoman during colonial times. This is something absolutely unheard of. So, I've given you the basis of her career. Let's get into the weird stuff, because that's why you all are here, right, Ray? Let's get into the weird stuff. So, Eliza was the second wife named Eliza from Charles. Now we're dealing with 3 Charleses and 2 Elizas. Ironically, both Elizas have a maiden name that starts with the letter L. If you want to find out which Eliza we're speaking to, ask her maiden name. You have the marriage question. You can ask what happened to the mansion. It's obviously not here anymore. Then you can ask what happened to it and what year did that happen. Hopefully we get some specific answers. The children. I told you there's at least 1, Charles, signer of the Constitution, but there are more. I'm not going to tell you how many more. I will tell you can ask what their names are and how many she had, but leave it alone. The reason I ask that is because there is a tragedy among those children. If we poke the bear too much, all activity will stop, including the little bit of EMF we've seen so far out of Carrie's device. So, Eliza's death, you can ask anything you want to. Eliza, how old were you when you died? What did you die from? Where are you buried? And what U.S. president was a pallbearer at your funeral?
Okay, so how are we asking these questions? Are you
Out
guys
loud?
asking them in your head, or you guys need to start talking?
Most people start talking.
Y'all need to start talking.
So some people are a little uncomfortable with the teacher hanging around, especially when I have my smaller groups, so they mentally ask these questions. We still get answers. Keep in mind, I'm here 6 to 7 nights a week. Eliza knows what questions we're about to ask. So if you want to go rogue and go after something I can actually prove, by all means, let me know if you get a direct answer and the question that you asked. Obviously, I have my little notepad. I'll be keeping track. But again, she might also just grab at words that she's hearing on the radio that are definitely relative to where we are and her life. That happens all the time, too. It might not be a, hey, I was X amount of years old when I got married. It might be the year or how old she was when she died. So again, that was the number that was available to her. It's still relevant. So kind of keep that in mind. Spirit boxes, we also have 4 of them in play. If you're asking questions, which you should be, that answer can go anywhere. Most of your television shows go after one device at a time. They'll display one device and let's see if we get some motion or see if we hear something. We're literally using everything inside my bag tonight. So if Casey's asking a question, the answer might go to another spirit box. We never know. That's why I kind of bounce around. Again, we're going to explore this space for about 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how much activity we see, and we'll kind of take it from there. If there's a lot going on, obviously we'll stay longer, but otherwise I'll get you guys the answers and we'll move to the next space. So again, same rules apply with the lasers and the camera. Megan, go ahead and start your camera. So go ahead and press it pretty hard. Lasers, obviously off the vehicles, and if you see somebody going to their car for their break, we're just going to go the opposite way. We let them have their peace of mind because they're just going to their break. They probably work somewhere nearby. Let's have some fun. Let's watch the EMF meters to see what's going on with them. Let's try no spirit boxes up. Let's do this.
I get to ask questions.
You got a little bit going on there.
That's cool.
So again, let's spread out. Let's do this. And you had a 4 point what now?
4 point something when you were talking. Yeah.
Like spotting, right?
We're getting something here. We might as well do a little laser here, right?
Unfortunately, back
No,
here
not
with
back
the
here?
lasers or with
Okay.
the this being like the slave and servant quarters, I can't prove anything. The only thing I can prove is obviously we have some
Because
motion
there's
going
no
on.
history. That's what's so fucked up.
Right. I
Slavery.
can't find anything. There's
no
not much there.
history.
I might have a
Okay.
name here and there from Eliza's letters, but
Yeah.
nothing in detail where I can oh, that was this person.
That's
Okay.
like the tragedy, right? There's no historical evidence of these poor people.
you've seen a 15 milligram so far from the K2.
No, I do. It's disgusting.
Casey, have you heard anything yet?
No.
No. Okay, and you've got it turned up
We got it
enough where you can hear it?
Okay.
All right, let me see your word list, Miss Janie. We'll kind of take a quick look at yours.
All right, London. How old was Eliza when she got married?
London's not allowed to give out the
You
answers.
have to ask. I'm not allowed.
Oh, well, I'm just putting it out.
You have
I'm
to
just
say-
putting it out into the universe right
I have
now.
to say-
If Eliza was around,
I have to say,
I'm asking.
well,
I'm
she-
asking Eliza.
if she just
I apologize for calling London. Maybe Eliza's in London. I don't know. Just asking a question. How old was Eliza? How old
She's
were
attached
you?
to Nick. All you have to do is say, Eliza, how old were you?
That's what I'm interested
She's
in.
attached to Nick.
Double
You're
the
not.
age.
If
And you
they're
can't
I'm
ask
attached-
going to say
Google
she was
either.
9.
No, if they're attached to you. That's
I just heard it number
Not
3.
necessarily.
number
They're
3.
attached to the
She
screen.
just heard number 3. Eliza wasn't 3 years old. There's no way
Oh,
Eliza
did
was
it
3
say
years old.
3?
That's interesting.
You have to ask her. But she's probably 17 is what I'm guessing. Am I right? She's
No.
17? No? Was she younger? 16.
18, 16?
I don't know.
Somebody
I
just
have
brought
no
up
idea.
18,
I'm
16.
just making shit up, but-
Nick,
Eliza, tell us how
right
old
here,
you
okay.
are.
18,
Yeah,
16.
any open space without vehicles in
18,
you're fine.
16 was the number that
You
just
are-
came out.
What did you guys ask so far?
I just asked.
We've heard a male and female come through. And that's,
16.
she said,
16?
something about go, like go where, and like nothing.
Okay.
And then
Then we
that's
heard
when the
18.
male come in.
32 to 16. Yeah, something like that.
$1,650. So
And
16.
Linda's like, I know the answers, but I'm just cracking up, right?
Well, but
So I'm gonna there's somewhat relevance there. I'm waiting for that secondary clue. And again,
I know on
it
the
just
other
depends
side
on
you
I want to know from Eliza if she actually
As far as
loved
you guys both have said, I heard
Charles.
I don't care what the gender of the
That means
person
what?
you're
How old would he be? 90?
most disembodied
That would
person
be
not really sure.
Could be answering her over there.
Could be.
Especially from this particular spirit box with an open air. It
Was
might be
she?
heard
Maybe
by the,
23.
you know,
I guess we'll find out.
because it's so close. But the gender doesn't matter. It's all about the message. So whatever I write down, I'm not writing down male or female.
For one section stuff.
No. You heard 16 as well. No.
She wasn't 16.
She doesn't want to tell us.
He just said she, yeah, he said she wasn't 16.
How many kids did she have? 1, 2?
She had one Charles and she has more, but
she had-
he didn't say how many.
Yeah. How long? I wonder how long did she live in this house, and why is this house
Am I
not
going
here?
to hear her voice or am I supposed
just
to hear the music? Whatever's in the music.
Spirit may come through in words that are similar to what we need to hear,
Like it said 1655.
right. Well, that's a number. So 1655 actually means something. That could be her father-in-law's, birth year. I don't know. I want to know, like, if Charleston was such an old town, and we walked up and down these areas and see all these beautiful homes, but they're still around, still from the 1700s and stuff. Why isn't the mansion still here? Did it disappear in like the earthquake? Yeah, the rooftop. Can you stay on topic here? I'm trying to ask Eliza a question. I don't think Eliza was at the rooftop bar over there. Just like, Eliza, did you go to the rooftop bar? Eliza, what was your favorite drink? What do you think Eliza's favorite drink was? Was it a Pink Whitney?
I heard Born to America.
Whoa.
Is it in there?
Find out how old she was yet?
No.
This is our new relationship.
I think she liked a good cognac. Yeah, when her husband died, I think she took up drinking. I think Eliza took up drinking. You know, you work on a plantation of indigo, you're going to have to drink.
In this phase, I've seen it go to 198. That's how I know that's how high.
I'm going to say, I'm going to ask Eliza if she's hung out in the servants' quarters a lot. Well, sometimes she took refuge, maybe. She took refuge.
9.8.
Was Charles a bad son?
143. He's got a 143.
Eliza.
Smack her in the head.
Eliza, if you can come through right now and kick the crap out of her. Yeah.
This is really fun.
Married.
Huh?
Have it
Oh, we're getting married, damn it.
29.4. It's so funny. Teasing about Ghost Adventures. My neighbor's house is haunted. They have 2 episodes of Ghost Adventures.
I should get that to my house, Andrew.
Yeah.
What? What?
The meter.
Oh.
I saw a 29. Anything above a 29 at this point. You don't need to tell me all the stuff. Okay. Janie, how you doing on here?
I'm going to stop monopolizing that.
Anything crazy coming up?
Since this is pretty active, I think we should just like.
Carmela, you hearing anything?
Well, she heard the dates before.
I heard 16:55. And then I heard that 3 number, but
I asked Eliza what her favorite drink was.
And?
I didn't get
I didn't hear
anything. Yeah.
nothing.
I'm thinking like a cognac or something like that. You're on a plantation growing indigo. You had to do
I told
something
her
in
to
your
come
spare
through me
time.
and beat the crap out of that lady.
Is this what you were expecting? When he said ghost tour, by the way?
You missed what you just said.
What did I miss? I'm
No,
sorry.
She wants Eliza to come through to kick the crap out of Karen.
Carry
We're recording the whole thing. So is yours.
Just saying. Even Eliza had a sense of humor.
We'll find out.
Right.
Is this what you were expecting?
We're getting some pretty high spikes over here.
No, I already asked if she was 9 years old. Don't look it up either.
What?
Don't look it up.
What?
Don't look up any of these answers.
I don't even know her last name.
Don't go. Pinckney. You weren't paying attention.
So there's got to be a connection. Something.
Looking at the rooftop bar.
Must be Eliza coming through. It's coming through.
Yeah, how old, Eliza, were you when you died?
No, not when she died. When she got married.
Well, we already asked her that question, and she didn't come up with an answer yet. So how old were you when you
They
died?
heard 9. I don't know if 9 was the answer.
She could get something on her spirit box. She's got the same thing that you do.
Yeah, but hers is recording. This one's not.
Oh.
Maybe I'm just not listening. He said no, like they were
Oh my god, you know what song just came on? Rap song just
Oh
came
yeah.
on.
What song?
Hurts on don't know.
I don't know if I'll be supposed to be able to
I want to know what happened to her kids. He said that there was a tragedy with the kid. What was the tragedy? Fire?
Don't ask.
Why can't I ask? I asked her all the other questions. She's not answering any other questions. Let her kid her come out.
I just saw.
Liza, what was the name of your kids?
I swear, if you're Rizzy on the again.
Yeah.
Hey Nick, you can usually see stuff with your physical eye
He actually shows
at all. I swear I am. I'm completely sober, so I'm just want to remember that. I swear to God, I mean, we got the camera pointing at it. I swear I'm seeing it, like it caught, it's catching my eye.
Eliza, how old were you when you had your first child? I'm just asking. It's a common
I was
question.
trying to get how old was she when she got married?
Well, I gotta assume that.
I just heard Spanish.
It's not just right as it gets Did she take Spanish fly?
Yeah, but
It's possible.
I'll get back to you though. I'll use the dots. I swear, I'm gonna show you.
A lot of rap music.
I'm not crazy.
Hear a lot of coffee.
So I just heard last one, and then I heard only two. I don't know what that means.
Only two, she said?
Only 2 kids, you mean? Yeah, she had only 2 kids.
Nothing else coming out of yours?
She basically restarted our economy.
Okay. All right.
With the indigo. Yeah.
That's good. I like that one. Let's move over here, guys.
We're gonna get some answers now. Now we're gonna get some answers because he's got the answers. Eliza didn't give us anything. Yeah, Eliza didn't give us anything.
All right. Let's definitely shut that REM pod off. Let's move away from that vehicle a little bit, Janie. So if you want to come in closer. So just to kind of get you guys a gist of like what I'm looking at, everything right now is really, really vague, which is a great start for when I start going through the data in the morning, because you're all giving me little clues about little tidbits of her life, which is really odd. A lot of times it's usually one specific thing that just keeps hammering it home. But with this, and I will tell you that most of your field work only captures about 40% of the actual evidence that comes out of an investigation. The other 60% comes from the research the next day. That's why I give it back to you. So far we've heard 1816, right? So let me tell you the relevance of that. And here's why I think that the numbers, that's why you heard that's such a specific number, right? And especially sounds like a specific year. Where you're standing was the Pinckney mansion that caught fire in the Great Fire of 1861. You guys heard 1816. I was waiting for the word fire or anything relatable to a fire to come through. So you can stop your film. You can actually just hit that square and kind of relax a little bit. Told me about that.
George.
4.
Right?
Yeah.
And Mason. Okay. That's pretty awesome. Alright, so as we were leaving, the word list actually gave us Eliza and Among Us next to each other. We also had the name Thomas show up a few words after that. Remember, that's one of the sons. The number 4 showed up probably as we were walking down East Bay Street, and as we got closer to this location, the word Mason shows up. So, anybody else here? Any names along the way?
Jesus Christ.
You heard Jesus?
You said Jesus Christ. You heard Jesus Christ.
Maybe Jesus is always in
Casey, any names out of you? Nothing? Alright, so let me tell you where you are. First and foremost, this is considered somewhat of a quiet area because we're next to a hotel. This is just a brief stop. And again, this is the residual ghost area, so it's not a place where we stop and spread out and investigate. When we cross that last crosswalk coming down East Bay Street, that's where the original Charlestown Wall used to be. We are now inside the original city. Charleston used to be called Charlestown, the Walled City. This is one of the very first streets we ever had that you're standing on right now. People used to live here. I have the full list of residents of every person that's ever lived here. So again, the names of
this street?
right where we're standing.
This is a street.
It is a street. You want to get that flashlight turned on? It's the top left button. On the face, top left. Yep, just tap it. You got it. So, the names I commonly hear here, guys, are Benjamin and John. So, Benjamin and John both lived here in 1801. Every 6 to 7 weeks, I get their names that pop through on some type of spirit box in some way, shape, or form. The only irony about all of this is that there's only about 5 people that lived here in 1801. That's it. So when I hear the same names every 6 to 7 weeks, I don't think that it's a coincidence. You're standing on Belgian blocks. These are made purely of granite. If you guys watch the television shows and the YouTube videos, you know that they talk a lot about limestone. So anything that comes straight from the earth, like limestone and granite, says to hold on to the consciousness of memories. These bricks were laid in 1735. They've got a lot of memories to hang on to. So as far as Benjamin and John, every once in a while a third name will come up, which is a name we don't often hear, Janie, but the name is Jane. So Jane also lived here in 1801. I have no significant thing that happened here in 1801. It's like I'm watching a 6 to 7 week long movie and I'm just capturing their names every 6 to 7 weeks. Was I expecting those names here tonight? I wasn't. We're on week 2 of the rotation. I keep track of it. So here's the interesting thing about the word Mason. Before people lived here, the Freemasons had their Masonic lodge here, hence the name. So we do get words like Mason, brick, Freemason, and I've even heard the terms Illuminati here quite a few times. So who the heck is talking about the Illuminati on the radio?
Me.
I don't know, but I hear it, I have to chuckle, because it is a very weird thing to get while we're here. Back to the people that used to live here, I am very excited about Mason showing up here, by the way. This is me excited, not me punching a wall and shoving Aaron into a corner of a room, for those of you that watch the TV shows. But anyway, the people that used to live here, they did do an archaeological dig here and found some of their tools and silverware and clothing, and it makes sense that they classified them as lower class people. First off, these were shotgun homes. These two giant buildings weren't here, so little 1 to 2 room houses. The other side of the wall was on the other side of East Bay Street, opposite of where we were walking. The smell of low tide would be coming through here quite often. So again, the rich of Charleston would not be living down here based on the smell of low tide. Let's talk about architecture for just a moment before we move on to the next alley. Now, have you been down to the Battery yet, where the houses are skinny in the front and they go long back? There's a couple of reasons for that. First off, you were taxed on how much street side you took. So, the skinny part, obviously less taxes. They also have piazzas, so those piazzas have front doors on the porches. So the reason for that is to keep the smell of low tide from coming into the home. They would open up the second-story window and let the breeze from the water come in, and it air conditions the whole house. So again, that's why those houses are designed that way. I showed you the picture of the Pinckney mansion site, of what we know of it. It faced broad on the street. First off, it's outside the city walls, right? The second reason is because they had the money to pay the taxes. To put their house broad like that with the architecture that they had was bragging rights. They didn't give a shit. Pardon my French. They just didn't care. They'll pay the taxes. We're going to show off we're the Pinckneys, we're political people, and we're helping this country get started. So just kind of give you a little bit of touch of the architecture. The place we're going to go to next is another alley. However, I can't take you down it like what we're doing through here because me and London have been booted out. Remember, you're on the Weird Ghost tour of the town, right? So you have gizmos and gadgets and lights and gizmos. How are you? At the end of it is considered residential, which is out of bounds for us, and London and I got caught with a group while we were down there. I'll explain once we get there, but I still tell the story because we get a ton of evidence from this location. It is wonderful. So for those of you that are filming, once we reach the edge of this alley, we're cutting through a neighborhood, so you'll want to stop your filming, especially since we have a group coming our way. Spirit boxes, you can continue to listen along the way. Let me know what you hear once we stop again. But yeah, we're going to cut through the neighborhood because this is literally the edge of where we're allowed to go as far as tour guides go. I still have to follow the tourism laws, even though this is more of an experience type thing. So we're going to cut through this tour, which is always fun. And then we're going to go to the next alley. Any other questions on residual ghosts?
Yeah, why'd you laugh like that?
Because we're in a darkened alley. Thanks, London. And now it's on audio. All right, let's do this. Well, you all right?
Yeah.
She
Okay.
doesn't want to stand next to me, I guess. That's all.
Lights plug in here or something? Okay. So the space that we're going to be looking at is the alley behind me. So this is Philadelphia Alley now. So for those of you with cameras, if you want to be discreet and just capture some footage while we're standing here, that would be great. I actually did capture something questionable with your camera just a few nights ago. First time in a long time in this alley. So we're going to talk about, this is duels. If you're into duels, like this is your story, because this used to be called Duelers Alley. This is where the take 20 paces, turn and shoot kind of duels occurred for the city of Charleston. So we all tell the story of one specific duel because we can actually prove it. So the story goes like this. There was a doctor that moved down here from Rhode Island. He moves down here because he's supposed to get married to his fiancée, Amanda. Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. She has an attorney that's helping her out with all of this cash flow. The attorney thinks that the doctor is just after Amanda's money and tells her to send him away. To prove that he's not just after her cash, he moves to Charleston. As he's coming into town, the coachman set him up to be robbed and killed. It wasn't a very good start to his stay in Charleston, but somebody walking by with the name Ralph Isaacs. I stopped on Ralph's name because we're going to talk about initials for a second. Ralph has the same initials as where the doctor came from, Rhode Island, Ralph Isaacs. R.I. will show up here quite often. However, I need the secondary clue so I know who it belongs to, basically. So Ralph says, dude, you don't want to stay here. This guy's going to try to kill you. He's got a friend inside with a gun. They're going to take all your money. So he says, I got a place with some friends that you can rent a room from at 59 Church Street. You can rent a room from them. He takes him up on the offer, and Ralph and the doctor become friends. So the doctor's practice starts to take off. He's making his own money. He's proving his point. Amanda's moving down soon. He becomes known as the Whistling Doctor because he whistled all the time. Every haunted city you will ever visit has a whistler, just so you know. Ours is a doctor. So, Ralph and the doctor go see plays together, but they cannot sit next to each other because the doctor makes more money. That's the hierarchy of Charleston. He gets better seats. They talk about the plays on the way home. One night, they go see William III from Shakespeare. The doctor thought the new actress in town was fantastic. Ralph, not so much. They start arguing. Then Ralph starts insulting the doctor's fiancée, Amanda, back home in Rhode Island. It gets a little heated, a little ugly. They go their separate ways. Ralph is from here. He goes to his friends at the newspaper, puts an ad in the paper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. The doctor saw the ad and rebutted with, "Let's go to Dueler's Alley. We're going to settle this." So they come down, they take their 20 paces, they turn. The doctor pointed his gun in the air, and he shot. His one shot. He did not want to kill his friend, which is often what happened during a duel, by the way. He wasn't always a loser. But Ralph still has his one shot, and he puts it in the kneecap. Sorry, Brennan. And on the doctor. So the doctor didn't die either. He has a gunshot wound in his kneecap. His friends pick him up, carry him home to 59 Church Street, where he dies 10 days later after refusing medical treatment. Remember, he's a doctor. He probably tried to heal himself by bleeding it out. So, the interesting thing about this whole story is they say as you walk through this alley, you can hear the whistles and or gunshots from the doctor. I would normally, years ago when I first started this tour, would take the groups down there and everybody would be using my audio that's on my bag, because you're going to get the full audio back, to listen for those kind of whistles. I can't go down there anymore because at the end of this alley, the bricks get older. The alley didn't always come all the way through to Cumberland. So those bricks at the end are sun-dried bricks from slave children. It has nothing to do with the doctor story, but I always point it out because there is a handprint and fingerprints in those bricks towards the end. Just shows a little bit of the Charleston history that's here. But somebody always wants to put an EMF meter or a spirit box or something nearby it. Well, it's right outside a gentleman's dining room window. It's very rude and inconsiderate of me to keep taking people down there. He came out screaming one night. London thought it was hilarious because her dad's getting yelled at, and we haven't been back since. The reason why I tell you all of this is because the dates actually match up to another story I'm going to tell you at the very end of the night, and it's very specific because I didn't even believe into the story that I'm about to tell you next. So it's a very interesting piece, and how everything laid out is almost like karma telling me I can't go down there, I have to tell the next story instead. Now, when you walk down there, I invite you to turn your voice recorders on so you can listen for those whistles. You can go down there on your own. You know, tourists are allowed. I just can't as a tour guide. But I will tell you that anybody walking down Cumberland or Queen Street on the other side all know the story. We're all going to throw a whistle down the alley. So, when you listen, it's not going to be very clear. I do it every single night on my way home. London, was that you throwing that whistle? Yes, I thought so. That's why I didn't say anything. But anyway, me and London usually do it on the way back to our garage every single night. London obviously knows the song. So, definitely have to listen.
It's a good song. You're good.
They put it on because I knew I was driving. Turn it off!
Have we heard anything from the spirit boxes, or do we have any words showing up, Janie?
Yeah. Paranormal,
No?
cancer, Emma,
No.
Jack.
Jack,
We're getting close to Jack.
Isaiah,
Isaiah? Okay. That's- Okay.
What's next?
The Jack is definitely relevant to the next phase. So in the areas that we're now, we're going to see obviously much larger tours because, again, I keep the smaller groups. We're going to try to find our spot when we get up to the next corner. We're going to talk some myths and legends a little bit based on what you guys are hearing on your spirit boxes.
Hurry up! Come on.
Talk about pirates, and then we're going to dive deep into a female pirate over at the Powder Magazine, and that'll be our last stop to investigate, where you guys can spread out a little bit like what we did at the Pinckney Mansion site. If you're into pirates, this is I'm telling you, this story is crazy. I didn't believe the story at first, but again, it all relates to the dates I got kicked out of here. So keep listening to those spirit boxes till we get to the next stop, and hopefully that's not going to interrupt what you guys are listening to. There's a gate right in the middle of it, so when there was a loser to the duels, they would actually bring the dead guy, the loser, through this courtyard to drop him off at the cemetery. Remember, the alley didn't always go all the way through, so instead of going all the way up to Queen Street and coming around, they just cut through the courtyard and go drop the body so they could celebrate the winner with a pint. So, any readings coming from you, Carrie?
No,
Nothing?
nothing lately.
Okay.
Like nothing. Battery died on this.
Okay, perfect. I can swap it out as I'm going through the story.
You want to sit down?
All right, everybody have a seat. We're going to chill here for a minute. I always come fully prepared. I have tons and tons of batteries in the bag. I will take that. So, alright, so any other things heard? Who's got the spirit boxes? So Casey.
I heard I'm begging.
Begging.
That's all so far.
Anybody else hear anything?
John.
John? Okay. Got it?
Carmela heard.
What'd you hear?
I hear music, don't listen to them.
It's okay. Sometimes the lyrics mean something.
Yeah. When you dip, we dip, we dip.
When we did
If we were talking about swimming, I'd say it was relevant.
Right.
But
When I dip, you dip, we dip.
that's funny. And who has the recordable one? That would be
that's
Casey?
it, Casey.
And Megan, you don't need to record here, so you don't need to record here, so we're going to save it for across the street. All right, so nothing was relevant to. There's like 15 stories on this corner. I just kind of wait to see what the spirit boxes tell me. If they don't tell me anything that's relevant to a story I don't normally tell, you know, I just move on to the stories I normally tell. Every ghost tour you're going to take is going to stop up at those gates there at St. Philip's. First off, I'd like to point out a few things about the cemetery here. There's two different sides to it. There's an eastern side that if you are from Charleston, you can get buried on this side. If you're not from here, you get buried across the street. So, of course, we're going to be near a pub crawl, too. Super fun. So, John Calhoun, we did hear the name John, is buried across the street in a sarcophagus. They weren't sure if he was actually from here or not, so he started off on this side, but they moved him several times trying to figure out where the hell he was supposed to go. So he was your 7th vice president, so the number 7 pops up here. We already have the name John, so if we have the number 7 that shows up once, I'll be, you know, obviously that's what I'm looking for, but if it shows up twice, it's usually relatable to the doctor because his birthday was July 7th, 7-7. So again, I wait to see how many things kind of show up. We have to kind of go, oh, wow, she's all in full dress and everything. What was it?
Spit.
We spit?
Respect.
Oh, respect. Well, obviously John Calhoun, right? So, but every tour stops up at that gate for a reason. There's a sign inside the gate that says there's no ghost here but the Holy Ghost. There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Do you know the story?
No, but we were there last. We were there.
You probably chuckled when you saw the sign.
We did.
because-
like that means there totally are ghosts there. They don't want you coming in.
They don't want guys like me trying to film and take pictures to try to recreate what's actually happened there. So, 1888, a young lady dies by the name of Sue Howard Hardy. We talked about initials. Sue Howard Hardy's initials. I wouldn't bring it up I know it's cheesy and corny, but I've seen it and heard it for myself. So she dies 6 days after her stillborn child. Very sad story, very abrupt ending. However, 1987, local photographers in town, he's taking pictures of all of our cemeteries. He does capture a full apparition in the photograph, meaning he captured a ghost in a picture. It's 1987, so as he's developing his photographs, he doesn't know what this little entourage is.
What year did you say?
1987.
Oh, 87?
99 years after her death. So, let's wait and see which way they were going to go.
You know what she died of? Was it preeclampsia or sepsis?
Not sure. Again, 1888. Who knows? Based on whatever death records they had. But the whole point of the story is that it's 1987. He doesn't have the tech like what we're using tonight to be able to figure out what's going on with this photograph. He sends it to Kodak. I don't think I have to explain what Kodak is to this group. It's really nice to do. But they can't figure out what the picture is either. So, to guys like me, this is absolute evidence. I am going to go down the line and show you guys the photograph. What I will ask is that the picture is cursed, so females, please don't touch the tablet. Even if you're handling it like what I'm doing right now on my tablet, you get the same symptoms like I told you guys back at Big John's, the headache, the nausea, the dizziness. So I'm not going to, it's also cursed to females that are pregnant, so I'm not going to be the guy that you had a great vacation and 9 months later I cursed your family. So again, I'm not going to be that guy. So I am going to show you the photograph so you can actually see what we're all talking about. Again, every ghost tour stops up there. That's why I tell the story down here, let them have it, because we're not here for very long. That's their big ending, because it actually gives them something to show for it. And just so you guys know, like, I am stoked about Janie's list tonight. Like, this is a really great list. So I'm very excited to see what's going to come up out of the other spirit boxes, so that way it hopefully matches up. but that list so far is actually coming along really, really well, and I'm stoked because I haven't had a good list in probably 3 weeks. So this is the full photograph. Zoom in on the apparition. Those are her shoulders, the top of her head, and a baby bassinet.
No.
Why?
Touch it.
You touch it?
I already had a headache
He's
today.
going to touch it. He's not going to touch it.
So there's the full picture. There's the apparition. Those are her shoulders, like she's praying over her grave with the baby basket next to her. No. Full picture. Those are her shoulders, the top of her head, and then the baby basket next to her. Full picture. Her shoulders and
Yeah,
baby
ain't it?
basket next to her.
I'm seeing a lot of rocks.
It is.
Is that you're getting rap songs that you're
So, let's get your mindset going on pirates, right? So now that we've already kind of gone through what, they're all talking about. And if you do take other ghost tours in town and they start handing the picture out, just don't take it. Don't take the risk. Like I said, I don't know if it's true or not, but imagine what I do for a living.
like they want you to have a copy of the picture.
Like, it's almost like they're handing out a tablet so you guys can pass it around as you're telling the story. So I've seen that done before. And I've been on tours where they've done that. So, off in the distance, do you guys see the flickering orange light back there? Like, off to my right, to your left? It's like a flickering orange light, the gas lamp. That's the pirate house. So, you can't miss this place. It has a big anchor on the front of it. And somebody does live there, so don't go in his backyard either looking for ghosts. He also gets mad, and don't ask me how I know. But that's where Blackbeard's men used to come off their ships, and they'd have a place to stay, meet with a few ladies, have a few drinks, have a place to sleep. The cool thing about that is that they dug a tunnel underneath the pirate house 1 block away to Dock Street Theater. At the time, Dock Street Theater was called Planter's Hotel. It was a whorehouse, a playhouse, and a hotel. Obviously, with pirates, the whorehouse is going to be an attraction. The playhouse. According to London, pirates work really well with nuts. So they were going there to work, backstage at the playhouse, in between bartering with all of the locals. So, keep that in mind as we're kind of going through things tonight. That's why that tunnel's there. We just filled it in the 1990s, so not so long ago. So this is not a myth or a legend, like if this was a real thing. There was rumor that Blackbeard actually buried his treasure there, but we all know that that damn treasure was in North Carolina, not South Carolina. So there is no rumor now. It used to be when it was still there. Across the street, where I told you, if you're not from Charleston, that's where you get buried, there's a sarcophagus close enough to the gate that you can actually touch. It's kind of like the opposite end of piracy, right? It's the people that caught the pirates. This one is that of William Rhett. He caught a gentleman pirate called Stede Bonnet. Now, a gentleman pirate is basically somebody who buys his way into piracy. That was also his nickname, Gentleman Pirate Stede Bonnet. He captured this guy. He was kind of a joke. He was an apprentice underneath Blackbeard, and Blackbeard kept him around so his crew could laugh at him, right? So when Stede escaped and started his own crew, he got caught by William Rhett, the guy in the sarcophagus. He turned him over to Nicholas Trott, our Chief Justice here, first Chief Justice in the United States, by the way. And he took all of Stede's men and hung them on White Point Garden to warn off other pirates not to come here. So you can imagine a bunch of carcasses being hung by the trees on White Point Garden to warn off the other pirates, like, don't come here. We don't mess around with pirates. You're going to be killed. So, when you're walking around town, you can actually see his sarcophagus right there. Feel free to touch it if you want to, but it is that close to the fence. Across the street, we're going to be deep diving into that female pirate that I told you about. This story is kind of a crazy whopper. We're going to tuck ourselves into the corner before we start investigating, and it is a good 3 to 5 minutes of story, and there's a lot of twists and turns. So if you're into female pirates, let's do this. This is not a story I believed at first, but now I do. Come on, Ray, let's go see what we can find.
I don't understand why you don't tell them that.
No.
See, you know, I just can't
My God, this old song. In the bedroom. That's what I heard.
Ooh, really?
In the bedroom.
In the bedroom.
Remember that song?
In the bedroom. Maybe the whole house. Right?
What you got going on with your word list?
Right?
I was just wondering if Sandra and Paul and
Henry, relative to the Pinckney family, because Henry's buried over here. But I'll see what else pops up to see if that's relevant or not. Because there's usually a specific clue I look for with him.
Okay.
He ran a newspaper, and the name of the newspaper will pop up.
I haven't been staring at it.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about the building behind you with the crosses on it. We'd come back here because the other tours like kind of cut through, tell the story, move on. We're going to investigate, stay away from vehicles, even though there's a lot in here tonight. But anyway, those are not crosses, those are earthquake bolts. Earthquake bolts are basically, they're a turnbuckle for the building. So if we have another earthquake like we did in 1886, which we haven't, you can turn those turnbuckles slowly and it'll straighten the building back up from whatever ruined it. This building right here, the apartment building behind the powder magazine, also has them. They're like the pinkish peach plates that you see in all the floors. It's more of a decor type thing for us now. It's part of the Charleston charm. You guys probably see them in pineapples and lions all over town. It doesn't actually work. So but the reason I point them out at this location is because those are the very first set of earthquake bolts that Charleston put in, because this is the oldest government building in South Carolina. So that's the little building in the front. I told you guys about the Charlestown walls earlier. That street behind you, that's Cumberland, where we were standing talking about Philadelphia Alley. That's where the wall stood. So it went up past the powder magazine, started going south behind me towards the battery, so it locked the powder magazine into the corners. The reason for that is because if it got attacked from 3 blocks away, Revolutionary warships or pirate ships, those walls are 32 inches thick. Those cannonballs are going to have a hard time reaching that gunpowder, trying to get all the way through. Let's pretend they do. It goes in, it blows up the gunpowder. There's sand in the roof that's supposed to blow up in the air with the explosion and then fall to put out the fire of the gunpowder. It's a great idea that doesn't work either. So we had another powder magazine closer to the battery. It did get hit because it's much closer to the water. Sand went up and the building burned to the ground. No longer exists. This one's never been attacked, but it did serve in 7 different wars, including the Civil War. So I bring up all the history of this building because its construction era it took 10 years to make the little building. Does that sound like our government? Not at all. 10 years, small building. Our story actually begins in the middle of its construction. We are here because this is a familiar ghost. It's the same principle of trying to use a toy to try to interact with a child ghost. So again, we don't have many buildings this old in Charleston. And this is also in the allowable space for tours. So again, Anne Bonny is said to be seen here all the time. However, this is a hit or miss location. After I give you Anne's history, we're either going to find a lot or we're not going to find much. However, given the name Jack that's already showed up, hopefully we get more that's going to be able to tie it all together. So, during its construction, 1708 is where our story begins. Young lady moves here. Can we turn that REM pod part off?
How do I turn that?
That's the button in the back. So, young lady moves here named Anne Cormack. She's here. She moves from Ireland with her father and his mistress. The mistress is her mother. Are you guys with me so far? You guys got me?
Yeah.
It's Dad's girlfriend? Okay. So, the 3 of them are running away from Ireland to the New World to get away from his wife. Okay, now that everybody's got that little twist, Mom dies pretty quickly when they get here. They land in Georgetown and Dad buys a plantation, but Mom dies quickly from whatever disease she captured. So he has to send young Anne down here to Charlestown to be able to sell anything from the plantation. Let me give you a little bit about Anne's mentality. Back home in Ireland, she was kind of a badass. They say she actually killed one of her servants with a knife to the belly. So again, she was like 7, 8, 9 years old at this time. So we're going to fast forward. This building was done in 1713. In 1715, pirates are coming through town, and Anne is stoked. She falls in love. This guy's name is James Bonny. As you can imagine, this is going to be the new husband. Dad doesn't approve because he's a filthy pirate. They move to Jamaica. They get married. Anne Cormack becomes Anne Bonny, your most famous female pirate of the Golden Age. When they get down there, this is not Captain Jack Sparrow that she was hoping for. This guy is a privateer. He's a spy for the British. In her eyes, he's a coward. This is not who she thought he was. So a few years later, she falls in love again. Guy number 2. This guy's name is John Rackham, a.k.a. Calico Jack. So we're going to call him Jack through the rest of the story. He's called Calico Jack because he wears the jackets of the men he kills. So he's a very dapper, young, filthy pirate. He does have his own ship, and Anne wants to be part of it. Females curse pirate ships. You can't put a girl on the crew. He makes a deal with her. Be dressed like the crew, hide your gender. You can be part of the crew, and you can be a female in my quarters. He's the captain. That's how it's going to go. So she's okay with this cross-dressing because Dad used to hide her as a boy back home in Ireland to keep her away from his wife. So she's like, whatever, let's be a pirate. Let's put 2 and 2 together. Being a female in his quarters, she's eventually going to get pregnant. You cannot have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. It's not going to work out. Somebody's going to figure out that she's a girl. He drops her off in Cuba before she starts the show. Have the baby here. These are friends of mine. They'll help you. Come back to the ship. We'll figure it out later. She has the baby, returns with no baby. We have no idea what happened to this kid. She's also dressed like a girl. She doesn't give a damn anymore about hiding her gender. This makes Jack pretty mad. Jack also just captured another pirate crew and they're down below deck. Anne's gonna go flirting because that's what Anne does. We're on guy number 3. The guy she's flirting with turns out to be a female, just like a guy to be part of the pirate crew that Calico Jack just captured. So, this young lady's name is Mary Reed. She convinces Mary to become part of the crew, to become friends, possibly lovers, and the British find out where they are. They send their entire fleet to come down and take down one pirate ship. Anne and Mary are the only 2 not drunk enough to come up and fight with their 1-bullet muskets. They're obviously going to get taken, right? We got a whole fleet of ships. As they're being arrested, Anne looks at Jack and she says, you should have fought like a man instead of going down like a dog. So, that's a famous quote from Anne. It's not verbatim, but it's damn close. So the word dog shows up here quite often through spirit boxes too. The judge tries and hangs Calico Jack and all of his men. He wants to see the 2 separate men that fought back against his fleet by themselves. The 2 ladies go in front of the judge, reveal their gender, and he doesn't care. They're still pirates. He's still going to hang them. We plead our bellies, was the last thing they said. Meaning they're both claiming to be pregnant. You cannot hang a pregnant woman in 1720. It is illegal. So he says fine. He sends them both back to jail and delays the hanging. Dad is still here in Charleston. He bails out Anne. She remarries. Husband number 2, guy number 4, has 4 children, and dies at the age of 84. That's all we know about her pirate career, or after her pirate career. As far as Mary Reed goes, she died in 1721, a year later, from whatever pirates die from in a Jamaican jail. Use your imagination. I'm sure it's scurvious and bumpy and gross and whatever else you want to come up with. That was 1721. There are 2 things that I left out of this place on purpose. You guys all know how to use your devices by now. We've been together for nearly 2 hours, if not more. I don't keep track of time. But with that, you can ask the name of Calico Jack's ship. I can prove that. And you can ask the name of Anne Bonny's parents. That would be the father and the mistress. I can prove those. Anything else you ask and get an answer for, by all means, do so. I told you at the beginning of this tour that people have passed out on this tour. This is one of those places where it's relevant to the story. Oh, by the way, let me stop real quick. I told you I got kicked out of Philadelphia Alley, right? That was November 26th, 2020. It was the day before Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving was the 27th. I took the night off. I start coming up here telling what I know about Anne Bonny, hopefully trying to capture something. I didn't even believe it. And that was November 28th, 2020. Somebody hears the number 300 on a spirit box. I'm like, all right, I'll look it up in the morning, just like I told you guys many things tonight. I go home and look it up. The trial that they went in front of the judge, Nicholas Laws, was November 28th, 1720, the exact 300-year anniversary of the trial. We also had Anne's name pop up on a spirit box, which I was like, God damn it, now I gotta talk about pirates? I'm a vampire guy, so the pirate thing just wasn't my bag. I've read, I don't know how many books on pirates, watched I don't know how many documentaries, and now I'm even playing a video game involving Anne Bonny's story because there are so many holes in it. I want to see where everything matches up. Everything that I told you tonight about Anne Bonny were common facts from at least 2 out of the 5 books that I read. So I was writing down a lot of notes to be able to put this together for you so I can capture more evidence. But back to the passing out story. Back in September, I brought my group back here, just like I have you guys, and the young man next to me starts to pass out, like white as a ghost, pun intended, sorry. But I start to pick him up underneath of his armpit, and I take him over to that wall over there. I send the boyfriend over to go get him a bottle of water. Here's a few bucks, let's get him feeling better. So he comes back, he's feeling better. I tell the story, send everybody out with their devices, go have fun. They
38.9. Sorry, go ahead.
This is not a place for EMF. This is one of those spaces I told you.
38.9.
That's crazy.
Keep going.
I am going to keep going.
You're good.
So with that, where was I? I tell the story. They pull me aside and say, Nick, we got to tell you something. We are two transgender males. Meaning I had 2 females dressed as males on my tour. Just like Anne and Mary. So it made complete sense to them of why one of them was not feeling well the minute we walked over here. Very interesting. So again, take that for what it's worth. Again, the spaces here are a little different. Those of you with cameras, if you want to go and exit the lot, make a left, go to the front of the powder magazine with lasers as far as they are staying on the ground. Stay out of the way of the other tours. If there's somebody in front of there, just take your time, wait, or you can come back over here, get a little bit of footage, but getting some footage in the front is always interesting for everybody to watch later on. Lasers have to stay low, because if you go any higher, you're going to be in somebody's apartment living room shining it on their TV. So keep them nice and low and slow. Spirit boxes, let me know what you hear. Me and London will be on the other side of that truck, just, you know, basically chilling by the wall, waiting for you guys to come back. I'll rally everybody in probably 5 to 7 minutes if nothing starts to come through. EMF, this is not a space where we normally get something. So Carrie and Ray, if you see anything, obviously her 38.9 is very significant. I've never seen it that high in this location. But if you see anything pop up on your device, I want to know what you got. The closer you get to the bushes, like the other side of the lot, Carrie, it's going to go off because of the electrical poles and the parking meters. So again, the closer you get that way, you will start to see little spikes. Just don't get excited. Nothing paranormal. Definitely get those cameras rolling. Every 3 to 5 minutes, do a stop and restart. Just so, damn it, camera. Let me get you started. So everybody, let's spread out. Let's see what we can find.
Interesting how you
Yeah, he wants me to go out there and move in front of the place. Get anything?
I don't know what that app is.
Just look up online. Ghostdocs.com.
That's what I'm getting. ABC, that's what I heard.
F you and your mother. Oh, that's fantastic.
What play?
It was.
Powder magazine. I'd like to know. I'd like to know if Mary.
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll, huh? I'd like to know if Mary hooked up with Aunt Bonnie. Right? Don't you want to know that?
Cursed in the field.
Huh?
Cursed in the field.
Cursed in the field.
Right here, I got cursed in the field.
Cursed in the field.
Hey folks, how you doing?
How are you?
Good, good, good. It's a beautiful evening.
Gorgeous in Charleston.
Revolutionary artillery.
Yes.
That's a revolutionary artillery.
Very excited.
What is the word I said?
Rock and roll.
No.
Cursed. Cursed in the field.
Cursed in the field. Cursed in the field?
You want to go back? Cursed in the field.
Huh?
Cursed in the field.
Cursed in the field.
Rock and roll.
Not rock and roll.
You said rock and roll.
Cursed in the field. And in the bedroom, I heard back there.
Yeah, in the bedroom.
In the bedroom, cursed in the field. Yeah. He's gonna be here by the truck.
And I'm looking. What if?
Oh, they're still over there.
Why'd she keep the name Aunt Bonnie? If she was married like 2 or 3 times and 4 guys, right? She married Bonnie, but then she was with Jack, and then she was with that other dude. Huh?
Too much trouble. Cursed in the field.
Alright, let's go. Let's front before it crashes.
Yeah.
Before it
What you
freezes.
got? Have you heard anything?
I heard cursed in the field in the front of the building.
Cursed in the field?
Yeah, and back here I heard in the bedroom.
Well, that's definitely relatable to Anne.
In the bedroom. Okay.
She had 4 lovers.
Yeah. And why'd she only keep the name Bonnie? Why didn't she go?
Because she was married to him the whole time.
She never.
Calico Jack tried to buy the dowry from Bonnie, and he refused.
Okay.
He was she was property to him.
Gotcha.
Cursed in the field?
Yeah, right in front of the...
Right in front of the Powder magazine.
That 38.1, that's crazy. I don't normally see anything as far as getting. So she gave me a very specific number. That's why I'm kind of like, okay, something happened.
Right.
I got to take her, at face value.
Sure.
But yeah, and that camera, the other camera, I was just popping the battery because it keeps like popping on it, like it keeps freezing up. So when I started it again, there was like a weird little grid in it, almost like a computer glitch grid.
Right.
And I was like, "Are you flashing the lasers?" And he's like, "No, it's in my pocket." So I'm like, "Good thing I'm recording it,
Yeah.
so I could see what the hell it was."
That's
But
weird.
your camera, if I have just a group of 2.
Right.
And you were filming the 2 of us, one night it actually put a white film over the person using that spirit box, and it stopped working. We walked out of the space. This was the area. I mean, it was actually over in that corner, but this is the general area. We walked out of the area, and it turned right back on again with it recording. It's the strangest thing I've ever seen. Take it for what it is. Again,
I'm more of a, like, I get smells. I feel people walking up to me.
Okay.
Like that kind of stuff. I never hear anything.
London stole my water. Jerk. Like, where's my water?
She's thirsty.
Bring it for both of us. Obviously, we share one. But yeah, she said she got a little bit of a stomach ache when we came in here.
Really?
And that happened to her about a month ago. She was on a tour. She lives in Myrtle Beach with her mom, so I only get her every other weekend. So when obviously we come straight here after I pick her up.
Right.
So we stop and grab a bite to eat, and then we'll go straight to the tour. She knows the routine.
Well, if you had Arby's, then there's no wonder that she has a stomach ache.
Well, she's also lactose intolerant. Like her
Yeah.
mom won't admit it.
Yeah.
She had goddamn milkshakes. So
Yeah.
I'm like, it's kicking in. I already knew exactly what was going on as soon as she told me that, because I didn't bring her pills.
It's not gonna stop me either.
Yeah. Well, she knows like I'm gonna get it for her. Like, so whenever.
You're a good dad.
Yeah,
I'm hearing
I'm
a lot of music, like crazy music.
But when I go through like yours isn't recording.
No.
But when you hear the other one, I'm going to give you the markers of what I heard, whether it's relevant or not.
Must be the money. That's what I just heard. That
As a
song.
pirate,
As
must
the
be the
song.
money.
That song
You're getting
just
all
came
good
through.
songs.
I know.
I heard the term "the treasure" the other day at this space. Like,
Wow.
are you kidding me?
Yeah.
We're talking about pirates, and you're
It's
giving me the
too
word
quick,
treasure. How
yeah.
cliche can you
Like,
get?
why didn't you get treasure when we were talking about the Pinckneys?
Right. And that's my point.
Yeah.
When I'm out here 6-7 nights a week, like I truly believe this. What the stories I'm telling you.
Right.
It's not like I'm making stuff up or the tourism office told me I had to study stuff. Like, all the stuff I told you guys tonight was stuff that came from the tours.
Right. It's factual. Well, because we did a tour this morning, and he was talking to us about the Powder magazine and the 32-inch, thick walls and the sand
Yeah,
and the whole
Those
thing.
things that you
Yeah, the
turn.
turnbuckles. I mean, all you're saying is factual, and then when you add all this other stuff
The spikes. in the
associated
houses.
with it, you start to wait a second.
So when I design this tour, I get skeptics, I get little kids, I get grandparents, I get everybody.
Yeah.
Because I'm the weird guy, like I said. So when I add in the factual things, I had to start and think about the little kids. Notice there was no real dark stories tonight. There was
Right.
no murder, death, kill kind of
Right.
shit. Except for the, obviously, Philadelphia alley. But that's about as dark as it got. Because I got to tell stuff to little kids. I got to tell respectable things when I got senior citizens on the
Right.
tour. So they don't want to hear all that stuff. If it's a ghost tour, they want factual things. When I get excited about pirates over here and I'm emotional about it, like that's what really gets people ramped up.
Sure.
So again, am I a storyteller? That's what I went to school for.
Right.
Of course I'm a storyteller. But at the same time, I pieced it together so that it's what you guys are working with. The
Correct.
initials, the pictures. They're capturing orbs. I debunked an orb that they had in their photograph
I would have
already.
totally touched that picture.
I know you would have. And you were about to.
She was. She was going to. She told me she was going to.
Ladies, what do we got?
I heard diamonds.
Must be the money. That's the song that came on.
Just now?
No, before
Oh,
we
yeah,
were
yeah.
walking that way.
Hey, must be the money.
And in the bedroom. over there on Thursday. That song came on. In the bedroom.
And Bonnie did her best work in the bedroom.
You remember that song?
What are you doing?
Oh, tell me about How'd they get in there?
I don't know.
I think the old oak tree. Old oak tree, Andrew.
Tie your yellow ribbon.
Right there.
Oh, yeah. That's the one that's 500 years old.
Alright guys, let's sit over here.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the one that's over 500 years old. That's the oak tree that's over 500 years old. No, that one's over.
Those are those weird trees that have no bark.
It's like a Siamese cat.
I seen them a few minutes ago.
Yeah, you can walk down some of the side streets and it has no bark. It's like smooth.
We were able to debunk a photograph pretty quickly. So somebody thought they caught some orbs. Again, it's based on the phone. It looks like church is letting out, so we'll have to, let's keep it a little bit tighter just so that we're not in their way. Somebody might be coming in their truck. I didn't really hear anything else that was like, oh my God, that's very specific. Again, it's one of those spaces where we're going to get a lot of activity or we're not going to get much. We had a weird glitch that showed up on the IR camera, so I'm going to definitely look into that. I thought it might have been the lasers that he had pressed on by accident. He said that it was in his pocket. So again, it wasn't anything dealing with the lasers. I definitely want to see that because cameras have glitched here in the past. So I just want to see what's going on. Very interesting evening. You guys kind of like had things that were scattered all over, which is going to give me a lot of research to do in the morning. See, I told you she stole my water. She's trying to sneak it back in without me noticing. We struggled a little bit with some of the spirit boxes. That's okay. It's not an easy thing to do. When I spot check it in the morning, I will give you things that aren't relevant as well, just so you get used to the types of things that I'm listening for on the radio. You have to imagine, I listen to these things pretty much every morning. So when I'm going through it, I know the things that are pretty common. Oh, we did get the word diamonds, which is pretty common around here too. And just the other night, I heard the word treasure. So take that, that's definitely a piratey cliche term, but I'll take it. But again, I don't feel like we had much here at the Powder Magazine. That 38.1 has definitely got my mind boggled a little bit. But the Pinckney Mansion seemed to be our hotspot. And then, of course, Lodge Alley. I'm very excited just because we had the word Mason show up while we were there. Like, that's very, very interesting stuff. But what's going to happen is I'm going to go through the data. I usually get everything set up tonight, and I start going through it first thing in the morning. I'm usually done with it by noon. And then I text you guys all one message, so that way everybody kind of gets one blanket statement of, hey, thanks, here's a few things that I needed to look at. But the data is yours. It stays up there by month. So luckily for you, you're towards the end of the month because the newer tour always goes at the top. So today's the 25th. We only have 3 days left in this month, so we only have 2 tours left because I take Monday off. Why, London?
It's his birthday.
We won't say my age.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. So this is my party weekend. I get London, and she's down here from Myrtle Beach, and we get to hang out and do birthday stuff. So, you're going to get a lot of data back. I'm going to check on the recording here in just a moment, and then I'm going to collect all of your devices, and you guys can ask me a million questions while I do that. You seem to have already done that throughout the night, doing one-on-ones with me in London, which has been great. We love when you guys ask us a lot of stuff, which is, you know, keeps you guys informed. Again, I'm going to ask if you actually had a great time, you leave a 5-star review wherever you bought your tickets. Like, it just keeps people coming my way. And obviously you read the reviews, which is why you guys are here. So your data page tomorrow is going to have the podcast at the top, the list of all of the apps that I trust and use when my wife says I'm not allowed to take ghost hunting gear anywhere, and I still have my phone with me. And of course, where all of my gear, where I get that from, because everybody likes to ask those questions. There's also a contact form at the top. London's going to give me as my card, so you guys at least have my contact info. But there's a contact form at the top of your data page in case you find evidence and you want me to take a look at it. That's the way you get a hold of me, is through that contact form. We make everything nice and simple. It's all easily to download. All my notes you can copy and paste and save them. I don't mind. But all of the videos will go to YouTube, and the audios go to MP3s. So everything else is copy paste on text, point, because we're going to have the word list from Jane. But again, this was about average, like, of what I normally see. I don't lie to you guys. I don't say, if it's like, oh my God, check this out, unless it's one of those areas where it's like, oh my God, check this out. I'm stoked about Eliza Among Us showing up, Thomas and 4, like, as we were leaving the Pinckney Mansion site, and Mason. So those are obviously points for me to look at with all of your other devices on the timestamps. So London's gonna, do the card thing. I'm gonna take Megan's camera first. So because it has its own pocket, and you guys can fire away with questions. What do you guys got?
We just got a 70.8.
70.8. That's because it's sitting next to your phone.
Okay. There we go.
So to kind of give you a relation of how those EMF signals work, in your house behind your television where all your wires are, it's usually anywhere between 40 to 60 milligauss. So that's pretty high stuff. Your microwave running on high and you standing next to it is about 150. So when I see things like the 38 that she gave me earlier, and there was nothing around her to make it go off, that's where I get pretty excited. I'm just gonna go around the horn. Keep your earbuds. Again, earwax is gross. You can keep it. You guys gotta shut me up. You guys have been a pretty quiet group, other than little one.